Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Water Talk, brought to you by Water Online. My name is Angela Godwin, coming to you from the show floor here at WEFTEC in New Orleans. I am very excited to introduce my guests today, Mike Pennell and Javier Cantu. They are both with Innovise and Autodesk company. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to hear a little bit about Autodesk's portfolio for the water industry specifically. So tell me a little bit about what you guys have in that space.
Yeah, really exciting. We with Innovise acquisition, we now have like a slew of products that we can use in the plan, design, construction, and operations space. Excited to announce that just as of like 2 weeks ago here in New Orleans, we announced a new operations product, Info360 Plant. Very exciting because it helps us complete that water cycle where people can design their products, plan capital improvement projects, and optimize around operations, all with Autodesk portfolio products.
That's great. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Tell me more about the Info360 Plant it was. Yeah, right?
Yeah, Info360 Plant. Well, Mike, you're the product manager.
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Info360 Plant is part of the Info360 platform. So it's our latest product release. It's the first product released entirely since the acquisition. So it's a brand new product. It does demonstrate what Autodesk is significantly investing in this whole water space. The Info360 platform overall is really designed for operational analytics, asset management. So it's real-time, directly connected, using SCADA data and operational data that's being reported in from the plant to optimize, operate, monitor everything across the water cycle. Info360 Plant is specifically designed for water and wastewater treatment plants. So it allows you to visualize your entire process flow. Basically, you can take your own process flow diagrams, or we can actually help you. We've got a whole services team of expert process engineers like this that can actually, we can basically lift your entire design into the cloud, right? And you can interact with it and see your operation in context of your own PNIDs or process flow diagrams or pictures or anything like that. And then you can easily find out your sensor signals, monitor them, visualize what your operations are doing, see anomalies or trends of what's happening. And it's integrated with some powerful suite of analytics behind it that are really designed for water and wastewater treatment plants, plant-based water balance, things like that. So it also provides a complete suite of compliance reporting, which is a big pain in the industry right now. They're constantly trying to get information out of their system so they can report it, right? Make sure that they're within permits and things like that. They've got a very flexible reporting capability that allows you to basically get rid of all the data munging and collection and dealing with Excel and all that stuff is basically handled by the platform.
That's great.
And there's a bunch more, but those are some highlights.
That's great. So what do you think? I mean, you kind of have your fingers on the pulse of this industry where data is concerned. What can utilities do today to better manage, better utilize information?
Do you want to take that one?
I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we probably talk about AI all the time. But there's a lot of steps, right? And digital transformation as a whole, it's a journey, right? Everyone's having to go through that, finding ways. But I think one of the most effective models right now is finding ways to democratize that data, right? Find ways to create that general data lake. There already are these bespoke tools, or some of them are tools that are also provided to like enterprise applications to be able to standardize around how data is collected. As Mike went through about some of the good things about what Info360 Plant does, right? I think one of those things that Info360 as a platform does in being involved in the planning, design and construction phase of all these projects, it does a really good job at knowing how that data should be structured to be prepared for capital improvement planning, operations and maintenance planning, budgeting, or anything of the sort. So having a good standard for that data, it's probably the first step that any utility should be going through.
And the democratization is the key, right? So right now, there's these, of course, we've been digitizing plants and the whole water cycle for 10, 20 years, right?
35 years, Mike.
30, okay, well,
that's
I'm interested to see
that's how old I am.
35 years ago, what does digitization mean? I'll think about that again. But so we've been kind of gathering it, but it's really not centralized, okay? And we're missing a lot of data. Sometimes we have data here while we don't have data over here, so it's inconsistent. So I think by bringing it all together, certainly by putting it in the cloud, right? And I know there's some concerns about having some data in the cloud. It's highly secure, probably the best security you can have with some of our cloud providers. We're with AWS, right? And we're not doing anything to the plant. We're just getting data up, but democratizing it. So giving it to everybody, so you can interact with your hydraulic model, you can interact with your plant, where you can get information. People can just point and click and get information from different locations, including outside services like weather data and everything else can all be put together and integrated. And that is such a pain today, right? You generally have to assign somebody. It takes hours to kind of do that.
Yeah.
Now with all the data just up there and point, click, oh, here it is. Now if I want to go get that data, I want to bring it out and look at it in Excel, I can do that too. So it's kind of hard to understand what it's like, the impact that access to that kind of data instantaneous to everybody throughout your organization, what does that have? It changes your attitude about what you might be able to do.
Right, absolutely.
Sure.
So, Mike, let me ask you, what type of data is needed to really optimize these kinds of artificial intelligence projects?
So we're looking for consistently consistent data, right? I know that sounds a little funky, but we're looking for a combination of real-time data right now, good quality data coming in either 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute, even it can even be second-level data. That's not necessary to get to that level, but it needs to be consistent, and it also needs to be have been consistent over a long period of time, right? So that's the tricky part. Some of these sensors go down, they get disconnected. We get situations where we have data loss, right? Where somebody just for some reason wasn't collected, it wasn't stored. So what's really important, first of all, to evaluate that you can currently get all that data and that you see the breaks in that connection. You can also get situations where the sensors they're not calibrated properly. They're not cleaned. So, and we can use lab data and sensor data and try to find inconsistencies as they start deviating. We can start saying, oh, it's a time to actually get out there and clean it. And you need to be more responsive to that, right? So if that's it's okay, I don't really care because I have the lab results and everything's just fine. No. You want that sensor data recorded because it builds to the next step. We then want to train the digital twin, right? We want to train to do optimization. You have to basically see how has this asset, how has this polymer dosing, process? How have my clarifiers worked? How have my filters worked? Right? I'm going to see all the different set points and conditions that have been, basically measured in the past, right? And because what's going to happen? Well, the temperature might have been higher, temperature might have been lower, pH might have been higher, pH might have turbidity higher, lower, right? So, when you've done this in the past, we obviously have our equations that we can use, but every plant's slightly different. Right? So what we want to do is see how the operators have run this in the past, compare it to what the outcomes have been, and be able to go pick the best possible decisions that they've made in combination with those equations, right? So it's the combination of the hydraulic and chemical and biologic equations that are there, along with how the plant has been operated, that gives us the best performance. So the kicker is you want to have all of that data. This is one of the weird elements. If I lose one key signal, for let's say, I lose temperature for a day. It's like, it's not that I lost temperature. I probably lost the whole day because I need temperature and turbidity and flow. I need all those things to be able to figure out whether he made the right decision, because I don't know. If I don't have temperature, he might have made it for reasons that I can't tell.
Right.
So it's weird. You think that you're gathering most of your data, but you actually need to have consistent all the time. You're going to miss some things, but these types of systems that we're putting in place actually make sure that data is good.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. So digital twins, the concept, I can definitely see the applications and how they're very useful and beneficial. Are they economically feasible? Let's talk about that a little bit.
You want to go for that?
Yeah, I know at Autodesk we have a series of entry points into that digital twin space, right? Whether it be in the asset space, operation space, or linear simulation space. There are different ways that you can enter into that market and start building up to that ultimate digital twin that's going to be enabled with artificial intelligence. The market's growing every day, right? And having these all these different procurement methods as well that has been able to enable small utilities, even small utilities, to procure some of these systems that used to only be accessible by larger utilities. Yeah.
And the price is going to drop. It's going to.
Yeah, it's going to continue to drop.
It's already much lower than it has been. So the weird thing about when you talk about like data science optimization, right? There's a technique to it. You need to learn what features or what factors, conditions in the plant actually affect this particular model, right? And then you need to learn what type of model to use, what kind of transformation you need to do, what kind you need to use a neural network, what kind of optimization technique. These are all different techniques. So the first thing is true. We use the word data science because it's a science experiment. We don't know how we're going to get this done. Where we're going to bring in all the hydraulic elements, we're going to bring in some of the simulation tools that we have. That's the great thing about Autodesk, that in the acquisition of Innovize, we now have phenomenal simulation tools. Okay, so we can validate that these things are great, that they're actually consistent, that the decisions they made were right. And then we can build enhancement models on top of it that work really, really fast. So now what you're getting is high performance, lots of expertise. We learn from one process, take it to the next process, take it to the next process, take it to the next process. The cost of that optimization just keeps going down. It's software, right? It's trained software. So once we learn how to train it, once we learn how to get it into the cloud and reuse it, right, it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So you will see these digital twins become not so much just economically viable, but they'll become an economic necessity. You'll be like, why would I not? It's like, oh, should I put a sensor here? Maybe in the early days, 35 years ago, we didn't put sensors on things. Yeah. Now the odds of
why
wouldn't you put them on? So the consistency and the cost and the quality of all that stuff will just continue to get better and lower, I guess.
That's good. That's good. And then just bring the access to the technology to everybody.
Right. Exactly. Moving from more sophisticated to less sophisticated operations too.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today. It was really, really fascinating discussion. If people watching want to learn a little bit more, is there a website you'd send them to for some information?
Yeah, you can visit us at autodesk.com. There's plenty of information about all of our Info360 product lines there.
And my last plug would be search for Info360 Plant under that website.
Info360 Plant, excellent, great. Thank you again, and wishing you both all the best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much.
For Water Talk and Water Online, my name is Angela Godwin.